Good morning students, welcome to the session on operating system. In our previous lecture we have seen the scheduling criteria and which are the basic concepts of your CPU scheduling, I can say. In that the main concept that you need to remember is these things. Why? Because based on these factors we will be deciding whether we have done the scheduling in a proper manner or not. What is the scheduling? Scheduling is the decision taking at which time your process will get the resources. It may be your CPU, it may be your resources like IO devices, whatever the things that the process will get at that particular time, that will be properly scheduled in CPU scheduling, I can say. And I want to remember you people what is CPU utilization. Keep CPU always busy, then we can say we have utilized the CPU in a proper manner. And throughput, number of processes that a process can complete per unit of time is nothing but the throughput. Okay, turnaround time is a single process will be taking some time in order to complete its execution. That is nothing but your turnaround time. Waiting time is nothing but the process will be waiting for its turn to execute. That is nothing but the waiting time. Response time is nothing but the first response that the process will receive is nothing but the response time, I can say. Okay, and in today's session we are going to start the CPU scheduling algorithms. Okay, these are the algorithms, I can say. CPU scheduling algorithms. In this, we will be having different kind of algorithms, I can say, that we are going to discuss. Okay, and scheduling, already I told you people what is the scheduling. It is a decision that at which time the process will get all its resources. And the first thing that we are going to discuss is your first come first served scheduling. That is your first algorithm. Okay, as the name itself, it is suggesting that the first come first serve, that is whatever the process is requested to have the processor will be given with your CPU, but it will be following what? FIFO queue, I can say. First in first out structure. Means to say that whatever the process which will request for the CPU first, it will be allocated with the CPU. Then if someone is coming, if some other process is coming and requesting for the CPU, then it should be in waiting state. Why? Because already it has been allocated to some other process. So consider that some processes like P1, P2, P3, if P3 is coming first, then it will be allocated with the CPU. If P2 is coming in the next one, P2 will be allocated. P1 is coming third, in the third sequence it will be allocated. So whatever the manner, whatever the sequence that it is following in order to acquire the CPU is nothing but first in first out fashion, I can say. That is, if I am requesting for the first time, then I will be taking the CPU. If you people are requesting, you people will be in a waiting position. Why? Because already I have acquired the CPU and I will be executing myself. That is what we have written in this. In this scheme, the process that requests the CPU first is allocated to the CPU first, whatever the process may be. Okay, and you people need to know about the burst time. Already we have discussed what is the burst time. The burst time will be of two types. One is IO burst, one is CPU burst. Okay, see, here we have discussed what is CPU burst. CPU burst is when the process is being executed in the CPU. Okay, whatever the amount of time that we are being executed by the CPU is nothing but the CPU burst time. And IO, when we are waiting for the IO, then it will be called as IO burst time. Okay, do remember why? Because these things will be playing a key role in order to understand your algorithms. Okay, see here we are using burst time. Burst time is nothing but what? The amount of time that we are executing under your CPU. Okay, and see the next line, the implementation of the FCFS policy is easily managed with the FIFO queue. That is what? First in first out. That is, if P1 is requesting for the CPU, then it will be allocated after the completion, then next process, then next process, like that we will be giving the control to other processes, I can say. Consider that we are having some processes like P1, P2 and P3. Consider that they have come, came at the same time, arrival time is same. Okay, we are thinking that all processes will be having the same arrival time. But see, P1 is requesting for the first time and P2 is requesting for the second time and P3 is requesting for the third time. Okay, and in this sequence, if they are requesting for the processor, then already I told you people in the FCFS we will be following what? FIFO structure, first in, first out. Okay, then P1 is requesting for the CPU, then it will be allocated to the CPU, then after the completion of this, then P2 will be allocated, and then P3 will be allocated. In this sequence, we will be giving the CPU to your processes. But in this case, if we are going for your waiting time, okay, waiting time should be reduced in order to use the maximum CPU utilization. So I can say response time should be less and waiting time should be less, throughput should be maximum. But in this case, the waiting time will be more. See, this is the Gantt chart. We will be calling this chart as what? Gantt chart, where I will be placing my burst time. What is the burst time? It is taking this much of time in order to complete this process P1, and 3 milliseconds for P2, and 3 milliseconds for P3. Okay, like that it has been given. While you are going for the competitive examinations also, in your examinations they will be giving the processes and they will be giving the burst time. Maximum you people will be given with the arithmetic questions from your OS like this. Okay, arithmetic questions means they will be giving some of the other algorithms, and they will be asking you people to find the waiting time, response time, throughput. Okay, we will be discussing about only waiting time here. We will discuss them later. Okay, now I'll try to find the average waiting time here. Okay, see here, suppose that the processes arrive in the order P1, P2, P3. We have imagined that they are coming in this particular order. The Gantt chart will be like this. As the P1 is coming first, and P1 will be allocated with the CPU. And see, it is taking 24 milliseconds of time in order to complete its execution. So 0 to 24 will be occupied by P1. And after this, P2 is requesting for the CPU. P2 is taking only 3 milliseconds. Mean to say that it is taking small amount of time, but it need to. We have imagined that these three processes came at the same time. Arrival time is same, and P1 is requesting for the CPU first, and P2 is next, and P3 is next. Okay, so P1 is taking 24 milliseconds, and P3 is taking only 3 seconds, but it need to wait from 0 to 24 seconds until or unless P1 is completing its execution. P2 will not be given with the CPU. After 24 milliseconds, P2 will be allocated with your CPU so that it can execute. See, it is taking only 3 milliseconds in order to complete. After that, P3 is requesting for the CPU. P3 will be allocating with the your processor, I can say. In this way, we will be giving the processor to your processes. But in this chart, you see, waiting time will be like this. P1 is waiting for no time, means to say that it is not waiting for CPU. CPU is idle now. We have started just now. So P1 is not waiting. P1 is allocated with the CPU here. That is 0. At the 0th second, we have allocated P1 for CPU. And for P2, we are waiting for 24 milliseconds. 24 milliseconds. We should wait for 24 milliseconds in order to give CPU for P2. And for P3, we are waiting for 27 seconds. Okay, these are the waiting time for each and every process. See, when I want to find the average, then I will be adding the average waiting time of all the three processes, and I will be dividing by 3. See here, 0 is for P1, P2 is waiting for 24 seconds, and P3 is waiting for 27 seconds. Then I will be adding these two, that is 11. Will be given by 51 by 3, that is 17 milliseconds. This is the average waiting time. Okay, here the problem is, see, the average waiting time of P2 and P3 is large, but they are taking small amount of time to execute. But in order to have that particular amount of CPU, they are waiting for a long time, I can say. That is what the major problem that we will be seeing in your first in, first out algorithm, I can say. If suppose if the order is this, if P2 is arriving first, and then P3, and then P1. If the order is this, then your Gantt chart will be like this one. Okay, your Gantt chart will be like this. P2 will arrive first at the 0th waiting state. P2 will be given, and see, it is taking only 3 milliseconds. P2 will be done with its job, and P3 will be taking 3 seconds, then 6, and then P1 it will be taking 24 seconds. 24 and 6 will be giving us 30. Okay, like this. See, average waiting time will be reduced if we are changing the order of request. Okay, then see, P1 is waiting for 6 milliseconds. Waiting time of P1 will be 6 milliseconds, and waiting of P2 will be 0, and waiting of P3 will be 3. For it is for 3 milliseconds it is waiting, and P2 is not waiting for anything, and P1 is waiting for 6 milliseconds. If the average waiting is found, average waiting time is found, then 0 plus not 0, 6 plus 0 plus 3, then divided by 3, that is your 9 by 3, that is your 3 milliseconds. See here, we are getting 17 milliseconds average waiting time. Here we are getting only 3 milliseconds average waiting time if we are changing the order of request. Okay, like this we will be having a huge amount of waiting time difference, I can say, if we are changing the order of request. Okay, but if which is having the highest burst time, which is taking the longest time in order to execute by the CPU, they are requesting for, then the remaining processes which are having the less burst time, they need to wait for a longer period of time in case of your FCFS. And see, this is your non-preemptive scheduling, I can say. Why? Because if P1 is assigned for one time, then it will be executed until or unless it is executed by your processor. It won't release your CPU, I can say. After the completion only your P2 will get, and then P3 will be getting the CPU. That is what the non-preemptive scheduling of your FCFS, I can say. And see, whenever a CPU is assigned with the process P1, it will be completing its execution within your CPU. If it is requesting for IO also, it will be waiting. CPU will be sitting idle. Why? Because CPU will not be taken from P1 and it will be given to P2. It is not done in this particular case. So it is not suitable for your time sharing operating system. Time sharing operating system. Okay, that is what the major problem in your FCFS, I can say. And once the CPU has been allocated to process, it will not release the CPU until or unless it completes the execution. That is the reason we are saying that it is a non-preemptive algorithm. Okay, and it is not suitable for time sharing operating system. This is what your FCFS schedule is. Okay, and see, we will discuss one more algorithm which is very easy. That is shortest job first algorithm. That is SJF. In short we can say SJF. In this particular algorithm, we will be selecting the processes which is having the less CPU burst time. For those particular processes, we will be giving what? CPU, and after that we will be giving to the next process which is having the less burst time. After that we will be giving the next process which is having the next less time, I can say. That is the reason we are calling this as shortest next CPU burst algorithm. Shortest next CPU burst algorithm. In this, what we are doing is, when the CPU is available, it is assigned to the processes that has the smallest CPU burst, which is taking less time in order to get executed by the CPU. Those processes will be assigned with the CPU, I can say, in this particular SJF concept. If the next CPU burst of two processes are the same, say suppose P1 is a process and P2 is a process which is having the same burst time, 3 milliseconds and 3 milliseconds, then it will be following FIFO. That is the previous case, first in first out, which will request the first processor, then that will be assigned with the processor, and then next will be given to the next process. Okay, like that we will be following the FIFO structure in that particular concept. If they are having the same CPU burst, then we will be given with that particular case, I can say. In this you see, they have given some processes P1, P2, P3 and P4, and they have given the burst time like 6, 8, 7 and 3. And if we are following this shortest job first algorithm, we need to select the processes which is having the less burst time. The less burst time we are finding for P4. P4 will be given, this is the Gantt chart, already I told you people. Okay, P4 is taking less time, then I will be giving the CPU to P4 and we will be executing for 3 milliseconds, and after the completion again I will be checking the processes that are available and see P1 is taking less amount of time in order to execute, then P1 will be given to the CPU and then P3 and then P2. We are not following the sequence P1, P2, P3. It is not FCFS. In this shortest job first algorithm, we will be selecting the processes which is taking the less CPU burst time, I can say. Okay, in order to execute by the CPU. If we are finding the average waiting time, you people see P1. P1 is a process which is waiting for 3 milliseconds. 3 milliseconds here. Why? Because we are having P4 as a less CPU burst time. First we have assigned with P4 process and then we are having P1. And see, P2 is having the highest CPU burst that has been given in the last part. Okay, and it is waiting for how much time? 16. This is 9 now. Okay, after this 9, P3 is taking how much time? 7. That is 16. 16 milliseconds. Okay, P2 is waiting for 16 milliseconds. And P3, where the P3 is? P3 is waiting for 9 milliseconds. And P4 is waiting for none, that is 0. First we are assigning the processor for P4 only. Then see, P1 is 3 plus P2 is 16, P3 is 9 and P4 is 0. That is what the sequence is, but they have written in this particular order. Okay, 3, 16, 9 and 0. This is also same, this is also same. They have followed the Gantt chart. I have followed the sequence of process. P1 is waiting for 3 and P2 is waiting for 16 milliseconds, P3 is waiting for 9 milliseconds and P4 is waiting for none. Then I need to divide it by 4. Okay, say 16, 3, 19, 19, 9, 28. 28 by 7. Okay, like this we will be having the 7 milliseconds average waiting time, I can say. Okay, 7 milliseconds average waiting time. Okay, like that we need to find the average waiting time. We need to reduce the average waiting time in order to attain a maximum CPU utilization, I can say. Why? Because we need to execute so many processes. As much as possible we will be executing the processes by your processor, I can say. And this SJF or a shortest job algorithm can be preemptive and non-preemptive. See, while I am executing this P3 is taking how much time? 7 milliseconds. If one more process came which is having less than your 7 milliseconds, say suppose 3 milliseconds or 2 milliseconds, 1 milliseconds, then I will be preempting this P3 and I will be allocating that to some P5 which is coming in the next one. And we will be executing that for 1 millisecond and again I will be starting with my P3. But the complexity here comes is selection of the processes which is having the smallest CPU burst time. That will be taking a lot of time. Okay, this short-term job scheduling can be preemptive and non-preemptive. In both cases, we will be having the things preemptive and non-preemptive. In this case, we can preempt, we can halt some process which is executing in the CPU and we will be giving the CPU to which is having the smallest CPU burst time. We will be giving that to CPU and then we will be taking out another process and we will be executing them. But in case of non-preemptive, we will be giving the CPU to this particular process until or unless it completes its execution. We won't go for the next process, I can say, in case of non-preemptive scheduling. Okay, this is how we will be using the SJF, I can say. Okay, this algorithm gives the maximum average time by moving a short process before a long one, which decreases the waiting time of short process. Okay, here in this case it is decreasing the waiting time of shortest job, but if say suppose if we are having a process which is having the CPU burst time as the maximum one, then it need to keep on waiting for its turn. Why? Because smallest jobs will come in the sequence and they will be taking the CPU, they will be executed, but your longest CPU burst cycle process should be waiting for its turn to execute. In order to not do that, we will go for few more methods in order to implement, in order to decrease the difficulty, I can say. But here the complexity, here the difficulty comes in computation, I can say. Okay, CPU needs to compute the length requested process, need to compute the shortest process, I can say. This cannot be implemented at the short term CPU, it will be seen in long term CPU scheduling, I can say. Okay, this is how we will be using SJF. Okay, and in our next lecture we will be seeing few more algorithms which are available in your operating system. That's it for now. I hope it is clear to you people. The simple formula that you need to remember is FCFS, first come first serve, means to say that in the sequence the processes will come, in the sequence it will be executed, the average waiting will be high if we are having the highest CPU burst cycle processes. Okay, and SJF is shortest job first algorithm, where we will be choosing the processes which is having the less CPU burst cycles. Okay, in this way we will be having these two algorithms. We are having few more algorithms that we are going to discuss in our next lecture. That's it for now. Thank you.